It's time to rest again, rebels. Let the day melt away and release everything that came before this very moment. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes and picture a big, beautiful balloon. It can be any color you want. Bright pink, sparkling purple, cool blue. Imagine your balloon dancing in the sky, floating on a soft breeze. Now, if you want, join us for some balloon breaths. That's where we fill our bellies with soft, warm air like a big balloon. Draw a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for just a sec and exhale. Now, if you like, put a hand on your belly and let's do it again. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it and release. One last time. Breathe in. Feel your belly balloon getting big and round. And release. Beautiful. Now I'm going to tell you about a special young rebel named Paige Brown. Paige is a girl who loves the outdoors, and she's found a way to help protect our environment using, guess what? Balloons. So, as we get started, let your body drift and float, lighter than air, just like a balloon. Feel the gentle breeze and hear the birds sing and soar around you as we glide through the skies to Paige's hometown of Bangor, Maine. Bangor is a small town nestled between the racing waters of the Kenduskeag River and a vast wooded green wilderness. The area is speckled with small ponds and laced with twisting streams and creeks. Wildflowers grow in a rainbow of color along the banks. This is where we find Paige, standing barefoot in the cool, clear water, feeling the current rush across her toes. It is summer, and Paige is thrilled to be here. As a little kid, Paige and her brother spent long, warm days running through the woods, chasing the paths of winding streams, slipping and sliding as mossy rocks shifted below their feet. They were treasure seekers, pushing through tall grasses to find the perfect spot to build forts from fallen branches. They dug for fossils and hopped after frogs, dove deep into the lakes and ponds, searching for the smoothest rocks at the very bottom of the water. When winter crept back in, everything around here became blanketed in snow and ice. But that didn't stop Paige from going outside. She loved racing on the frozen lakes, zipping and zapping about on her hockey skates. Hockey was her passion. It was where she felt the most free, until 7th grade, when everything changed for her. At a hockey practice, Paige tripped on the ice and hit her head. She suffered a serious concussion and spent 8 months recovering. Paige had to be out of school a lot of that time. So she spent her days exploring the woods, listening to the sounds of nature all around her, and thinking about how special this place was to her. When Paige went back to school, she found herself most interested in her science classes. They did lots of fun experiments, dropping pumpkins from a third-story window to predict where they'd fall, or tossing bouncy balls down the stairs to see how many times they'd bounce before they ran out of energy. Then, one afternoon, Paige's science teacher taught a lesson about pollutants, chemicals and waste products that get carried across the land by rain and water and end up in our lakes, rivers, and streams. Her teacher asked the class to test for pollution in a nearby water source. So Paige decided to test her favorite sparkly stream, the one closest to her house. Kneeling down on the banks, filling little vials with water samples, Paige studied the stream trickling through her hands. It was so clear and bright, she couldn't imagine it being polluted. But when her test results came back, she gasped. The levels of pollution were extremely high. Paige couldn't believe it. She took more samples from 6 different streams in the area and studied the levels and types of pollution for a year. As she did, she grew more and more frustrated and impassioned. She realized that she didn't want to just track and study pollution. She wanted to get rid of it. Paige set up a lab in her basement. She was determined to find a way to pull phosphorus, one of the main pollutants found in her water studies, out of the contaminated water. For months, she experimented with different methods and chemicals, until finally, she found a combination that worked. She had made a brand new type of water filter. She was just 16 years old, and her invention won some big awards. But more importantly, it helped Paige realize what she was going to do next. Paige wanted to save the streams by her house, of course, but not just that. She wanted to help make sure that children everywhere could spend their summers enjoying the outdoors, just like she loved to do. Paige decided she wanted to be an engineer. You see, Rebels, engineers are people who use science and math to create new technology, just like Paige had already done. So she moved all the way across the country to California to study engineering at Stanford University. And that's where she discovered the power of balloons. Weather balloons, that is. A weather balloon is like a really big birthday balloon. It's a round, stretchy bag that you fill with gas, like helium, and release it into the sky. Then, you track where it goes using computers and GPS. The balloon can carry all sorts of equipment, like cameras and thermometers, to measure the temperatures and winds. Scientists use weather balloons to study weather patterns and to learn how our environment is changing. Paige was fascinated by these weather balloons and joined the Stanford Student Space Initiative Balloons team, a group of students who worked on building and launching weather balloons. Picture Paige and her teammates in a large, wide-open park. Green grass as far as you can see. Not a single tall building in sight. It's a cool, crisp day with low winds. A perfect day to release a weather balloon. They fill the balloon with gas, and it grows bigger and bigger. They make sure all the equipment is firmly attached, and then they let go. Whoosh! Excitement rushes through Paige's body as she watches the balloon rise into the sky, slowly drifting out of view. The team hurries back to campus to watch their balloon's journey on their computers. It soars high above California and drifts farther and farther. It keeps floating across the next state and the next. Rebels, this was incredible. Up until then, the longest a weather balloon had stayed up was 70 hours. But most balloons only stayed up for an hour or two. But for the next 4 days, Paige and her team tracked the balloon as it made its way across the entire country, heading toward the Great Lakes and beyond. Until finally, the balloon started to descend near Paige's home state of Maine. Paige is shocked. Their balloon has been up for 79 hours and 20 minutes, breaking the world record. Now the question is, how are they going to retrieve it? The balloon has landed right smack in the middle of a road in Canada, not far from the Maine border. You see, getting the balloon up in the air is just one of the challenges. Keeping it up is another. And then there's the trouble of having to collect the balloon and the equipment once it finally floats back down. Paige can't stand the idea that their equipment might get run over by a car. So she calls her dad for help. Dad, would you be willing to drive to Canada and pick up a weather balloon? Paige's family is used to her big ideas, but still her dad chuckles. A what? From where? I'm part of the balloons team, and we launched a weather balloon that landed right in the middle of a road. It's only 7 miles across the Maine border. Can you go, Dad? Please? Of course he agrees. Sure thing, kiddo, he says, hopping in his car. From that moment on, Paige and her teammates dedicated themselves to launching and tracking balloons all over the world. It was fun, but Paige knew she didn't want to just track the balloons. She wanted to invent new balloons that could fly further, last longer, and gather more information than ever before. If balloons could monitor storms that were growing in remote areas, scientists and experts could use that information to warn people and save lives. If a balloon could travel out to the middle of the ocean and track wind patterns there, then ships and airplanes could plan their travel using wind instead of fuel to move faster. This would mean less pollution. Paige was inspired as she worked hard to improve both the design of the balloons and the equipment they carried. Her designs helped the team break their own record 3 more times. One of their balloons made it all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, almost to the North African country of Morocco. When Paige graduated college, she and 3 of her teammates formed a company called Windborne. Their goal was to create and fly smart weather balloons, using technology to go places no one else had reached before. This is where Paige is today. She's found a fun and exciting way to help reduce pollution and preserve the environment. Every time Paige hears the whoosh of a new balloon lifting off, she feels a sense of hope and wonder. Paige believes no one is ever too young to see a problem and try to fix it. She wants everyone to have the chance to grow up running through the woods and wading in crystal clear streams. So let's join Paige, rebels. Let's be builders and creators. Let's use our innovation and passion to create solutions and protect our planet. And now, as our story ends, imagine one of Paige's weather balloons as it soars across the country, high above the clouds, higher than any airplane. Feel the cool winds that carry it, effortlessly, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, in a beautiful dance across the sky. What does the balloon see on the ground, so far below? Can it make out the shapes of the mountains and canyons, the woods and Great Lakes? Or is it all a blur of greens and blues brushed onto a never-ending canvas? If you like, imagine you are flying with Paige's balloon. Join it in the breeze and feel your body become lighter, weightless. Close your eyes and think about where you might travel and where you'd like to land. Think about your favorite places to explore and your favorite treasures to seek. Imagine all of your friends and your family are beside you, cheering you on as you continue to soar. Follow the balloon as day becomes night, as the sun sets and the stars come out. And then slowly, gently, descend through the night and find yourself warm and cozy in bed. The only sound is your deep breath in, filling your balloon belly big and round, and then out again. In and out.
This podcast is a production of Rebel Girls. It's based on the book series Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. This story was produced by Olivia Riçhard, with sound design and mixing by Mumble Media. It was written by Emily McMahon-Wattez, fact-checking by Joe Rhatigan, narration by Katie Anvil Rich. Thank you to the whole Rebel Girls team who make this podcast possible. Stay Rebel.